All right, I have 5:30, so we'll call the meeting to order. If everybody could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you everyone for being here tonight, and those who are online, we appreciate it. We will just jump right into our agenda for our board business meeting. First item up is special recognition. So Mr. Hanson, Superintendent, Student Advisory Council.
Thank you. So I have a few of our members, actually we met them earlier. However, I would like them to come up if they would, and they're going to introduce themselves as well as talk a little bit about our student advisory, our superintendent, student advisory council, and what the work that we have done so far and the work that we're going to do this year. So thanks, Teddy.
Yeah. My name is Tay Herrera. I'm at Mikan.
Hi, I'm Angel Joshi. I'm at Saltridge High School.
And at our last meeting, what we went over was our group mission and our group vision, the difference and what we want to do as a whole group going forward this year. Our mission, which is why we exist, is to provide student voice on KSD policies to improve student experiences. And our vision was collaborative, open-minded, and represent all student voices. This came out of us brainstorming and condensing it down to these two very specific sentences. And Angel will tell you more about how we came together at the meeting.
So as we started off the meeting, we came together and we voiced individual opinions on a piece of paper. And then with like groups of 4, then we voiced and came together and decided a collective opinion. And then as an entire advisory council, then we came up with the uniform statement to represent our vision and our mission. And we have decided to focus on those core values throughout this year to be able to fully express our students' opinions and advance Kennewick School District. Thank you.
Thank you.
And also Diego's on there. If Diego, if you would like to add anything to that.
No, I think both Teddy and Angel really summed it up for you guys, but I'm just, I would like to extend my gratitude to both of you for being here tonight and for joining us at this study session.
Thank you both. And again, I just want to express to the board how much I appreciate the opportunity to work with our students and for them to come and have a collective voice. We're off to a great start. I thought that was a great way for us to determine our purpose, and that's important in any organization. So thank you. Thanks, Teddy and Angel. You guys take off if you want.
Lance, can you just, how many students are on the advisory council, and it's collectively of all the high schools, correct?
We have 22 students, and they represent all of our high schools, including all of our high schools. So they're of the 3 bigs plus Delta, Legacy, Phoenix. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. All right. Moving along, we will next go to communication from parents, staff, and district residents. The Kennewick School District Board of Directors appreciates hearing from the community. This time is reserved for the board to listen to comments, input, and information. Guidelines for addressing the board. You signed in on the sheet. Board president will call your name. Please come to the podium at the front of the room. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. Stoplight will begin when you have 1 minute remaining with yellow, and then when your time has ended, red. Please note the board will not be able to respond to comments provided. As appropriate, the board may ask the superintendent to review any issues raised. Please note the board did not take public comment on issues related to personnel or individually named staff members at board meetings. However, you can email the board with such comments. Thank you for taking the time to be here this evening. Nobody online? Okay. First up, Chuck Henniger.
I'm Chuck Henniger. Glad to see you guys tonight. And I have a little note here, board members and Superintendent Hanson. Based on Board Vice President Valentine's recent public statements that were reported in the Tri-City Herald, and which are therefore a matter of public record, I am concerned that the KSD core value of all students are safe, known, and valued, which is part of the current KSD strategic plan that was approved by this board earlier this year, is not being upheld or honored. If I were a trans student in the KSD, I would feel attacked, I would not feel safe, and I would not feel valued. This runs counter to the core values stated in this strategic plan. I sent the board and the superintendent an email outlining my concerns. Since it is also appears that the board president shares or at least condones the views of the vice president, which was implied in the president's reply to me, I have come tonight to ask the board and or the superintendent to repudiate the views of the board vice president with regard to trans students and to make a public statement of some kind that states that the KSD and the KSD school board intend to uphold the core value that all, emphasis on all students are safe, known, and valued. I think that the KSD teachers, staff, and administrators need to hear this, and the KSD students and parents need to hear this as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Next up, we have Derek Kohler.
Good evening. I live in the Kennewick area on Hanson Park, Montana, and 10th and 9th Avenue. I'm bringing up the topic of Kennewick School District property that has not been developed yet. Part of the task force that I was working with our HOA and local communities was the subject property that is inundated with tumbleweeds. Yearly, we get inundated with tumbleweeds where you cannot go into your front yard, you can't go into your house, we have thousands that come. I reached out to the city of Kennewick for code enforcement to see an action of what was taking place, unaware that it was the Kennewick School District property. They provided the background and information on it. The code enforcement, Tony provided me the name of Patty. I had a pre-discussion with Patty. She shared to have a discussion with Dr. Tom Bilhart, which I did. My path forward is to be getting with them. And the part here, I just wanted to get captured that our community, 519 houses that are in our side north of 10th, and the houses from 12th and 11th on the south side are yearly impacted. And right now with the fall season coming, we're going to be hit on the next windstorm. We're not worried about dust. You can't control that. But with the code enforcement said, your best action, of course, is to get with the Kennewick School District to see if we have a resolution. So at this moment, I was put in touch with the individual. On 10th Avenue between our Steptoe and Montana, so the south, there is a new community. It was where an orchard was approximately 7 years ago. They sold the orchard, leveled it, and they were starting to put development of housing. But the Kennewick School District bought one set of property and nothing has taken place. And it would be a question, depending on a resolution, how long is that property going to be undeveloped? So we, as homeowners and our HOA of 517 can have a discussion. So my time has ended. Thank you. I will be coordinating with additional, thank you, Patty.
You're welcome.
And then with Tom. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Derek. Next up, Andrew.
Acton.
Acton, okay.
All right. Sorry, I'm not really good at public speaking, but so my daughter plays sports for Kennewick High School. So it was brought to my attention that parents have to pay for tickets to go see their kids play sports. I mean, that just seems like, being from a low income family, to have to be able to pay for that, plus, gas and stuff to get there and stuff. It's really, really hard on families that are on SSI and stuff. And I think it's beneficial to all the players to be able to have one parent at the game at all time. Because, I don't know if you guys had played baseball and sports in school. I mean, if your parent wasn't, your support person or parent wasn't there, I mean, that's not healthy for kids' mental health and stuff, you know? I haven't been able to see my daughter play volleyball because I don't have the money to. I mean, we're living off bare minimum, and I just wanted to bring that up to your guys' attention. I think it should be for the whole county. I mean, it should go countywide. I mean, just for a kid not to be able to, you know, have their parent there, it's not fair to them, and it's not fair to us either, you know? So I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but that's, my time's up, I guess, probably. So it's up to you guys to make some kind of decision or whatever you guys do, but put it out there for you guys.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. All right, do we have Chaz Oren here? Chaz, you are up.
Hello. I'm here to talk about the Michael Valentine situation. I am a student who just graduated this year, and I did take some notes, so I'm gonna have to look on my phone. But I know Michael Valentine personally. He's a great man, a really a family man, and I've been to his church before. I would say that he loves God. Some of you may find that offensive, but I don't. I believe it's his key characteristics to love and to respect everyone. I would say when I was a kid and I didn't have a father figure, I really looked up to him during his campaign. He was really a leader, and I don't see him being a threat to anybody. And so I would like if he would continue being on the board. I believe he's one of the most respectful people, and he's just fit for the job. So that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Chaz. All right. That's all we have. So we will move along to board member and student representative reports. So we will move on down there to Mr. Diego.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm happy to report to you guys that at the study session earlier tonight, we had 2 other students from our Superintendent Student Advisory Council. And I would also like to make that an invitation for all of our listeners, either online or in person, to go ahead and listen to that in about a week or so when that gets uploaded to the district's YouTube page. Unfortunately, you won't be able to listen to all the individual conversations that our students had with some board members, but you'll be able to get the summation of that. And I believe that student voice is very powerful. So I would invite everyone to take a look at that. Apart from that, last Friday, I had the opportunity to meet Allison Francis. She is an intern with social media for CTE. So I would invite you guys to check out both the Facebook and the Instagram for KSD CTE and look at some of the work that another intern of our district is doing. I was actually featured on one of the posts, so I'm very pleased about that. But I invite all of you to look into that, and so you guys can see some of the work that other interns are putting in with our district. And so I'd like to extend a gratitude to Allison Francis for that, as well as the CTE department and to the workplace learning program, which allows students to take on internships, not only at the district, but at other places and receive credit for receive high school credit for working those jobs. So thank you to the CTE department, Allison Francis, and to the workplace learning.
Awesome. Thanks, Diego. We'll jump down there. Mr. Connors.
I'd love to tell you that I have something to report, but I really don't. But my goal before I leave this evening is to make sure I get with Mr. Hanson and get time to go visit some schools for the next 2 weeks, because I've been remiss with my school visits. But I will echo what Diego said regarding the Student Advisory Council. People that came to meet with us today, they were very engaging, very smart, gave us a lot to think about. So really appreciate your effort.
Great. Thank you. Dr. Miller.
Yeah, as I've talked about before, rather than giving a travel log or specific things I've done or activities I've participated with, sometimes I'm going to use my time to talk about some of the issues or topics that perhaps have been discussed with me by members of the public or in emails or phone calls. And one of the things I think that I've had repeatedly over the past couple of weeks is the misconceptions regarding our positions as nonpartisan positions. Nonpartisan positions, the school board is a nonpartisan position. What that refers to is the election process, in the sense that in the election process, a particular party doesn't nominate a candidate, and the candidates aren't specifically run under a specific party platform. This is typically done to allow people to run individually based on their own opinions rather than a party opinion or party platform. And it helps particularly in areas of local politics or areas like school boards where perhaps the specific positions and opinions of candidates are more important than a party position or a party platform. However, being a nonpartisan position does not mean that members of the board are not allowed to have their own particular political views. It does not restrict them from participating in any particular activity, organization, or political party. While school board positions are nonpartisan, school board members are very much allowed to be involved and in some respects encouraged to be involved both in communities as well as in organizations such as political parties and political organizations. It would be anti-democratic to suggest that if a person is on a school board or on an elected in some type of elected position that they suddenly revoke their right to express their own political views or opinions or participate in the political process. School board members are allowed to express their personal opinions as school board members. They can express how they feel on political issues, on school board issues, on anything, as long as they are expressing their own personal views. They are limited in that they are not entitled to speak for the board as a whole or state their opinion as the opinion of the board, unless they've been specifically and expressly allowed to by the board. So just a reminder to people, whether you concur or disagree with someone's personal position, school board members are allowed to have their positions. And that's actually why they're elected. They're elected based on their personal positions on different issues. And so we encourage both the community and members of the board to be involved in the political process of election. We have an election coming up, and so certainly you're going to hear about different candidates' positions and views. And I think that's important that we allow for open dialogue. We allow for people to share their differing opinions. And certainly, because you're a board member doesn't mean that you no longer can share those. So misunderstanding that a nonpartisan position means you have no political opinion is not correct. It simply says that you're not nominated by a political party to run for the position. So I think that's important to understand as we go forward, because certainly I know I have my own political views, I have my own personal views, and I hope that we can maintain an open dialogue with people who have differing opinions. I think that's critical to a democracy and critical to improving both the school board and improving our communities. But understanding that often people will see things differently than you, and that's absolutely okay. But just wanted to remind people in the community of that and what that nonpartisan means, because I think there was some misconceptions that people were not allowed to have their own political views or express those. Again, they can express it as a board member as long as they don't specifically state that they're speaking for the board as a whole. So just wanted to remind people about that. Yeah, that'll be what we'll focus on today. Thank you. Oh, actually, one other thing. Sort of question. Maybe Lance, if you can look into this for us, to the gentleman who came in's point, if we can look into see if there is some type of financial waivers or something to ensure that parents can participate. I know we're going to be talking about parental involvement, that parents can participate in their kids' athletics, even if financial issues are restricted. So if we can just make sure that problem is resolved, because to me, that is, to be blunt, I think it's wrong that a parent can't see his kid play their sport because they can't afford it. And whatever we need to do to make that better, that would be encouraging that.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Miller. Ms. Gledhill?
So I'm not prepared tonight to speak on any of my political or personal views. I'm happy to do that as they pertain to things we're discussing as a school board. We're not tonight. We have received a number of emails. Just by way of reminder, as far as procedure goes, if an email is sent to the entire board, it will be the board president that responds. If you are interested in my own personal views or opinions, I'd love to meet you for a snack, a treat, or you can email me directly and I'll respond back. But if it's to the entire board, it's always going to be the board president that responds. As far as activities go, I attended Donuts with Grown-Ups at Amon Creek Elementary last week. We did not get there early enough to get a donut. So we got to go out that afternoon for a donut, and that was great too. I did go and do my first school visit with Mr. Hansen to Cottonwood. It was a great visit. I'm glad that Gabe gave me the heads up to wear tennis shoes because we were moving quick. I was absolutely blown away and very impressed with how quickly Mr. Hansen was able to enter a room, immediately assess what was happening. He took in observations about the pedagogy. He took in observations about the classroom setup and how that impacted education. Every time we left, he had 3 or 4 things to say, complimenting the staff in the school and also taking note of the things that we can work on and improve. I was very, very impressed with his ability to do that. And we did cover a lot of ground. I was able to attend the Lincoln Family Picnic. This is an annual event that they have. They invite their families to come during the lunch hour. They have part of their schoolyard that is fenced off, or not fenced off, it's just marked off as a zone for parents to come and have lunch with their kids. And it was just so fun to be there and see how excited the students were to see their families there at school. Thought that it was a really great way for a school to be engaging families. So with our discussion tonight, just one example of a way that one of our elementaries is really doing a great job of reaching out to their families. So it was a pleasure to be there. I did on Saturday attend the WASDA General Assembly. It was wrapped up by about 1 o'clock, which was great. I set aside much more time than that, so it was great to have a little bit of time. Voting went as we expected. I think we agreed with the general WASDA membership probably 80-90% of the time. So just a heads up that something that's on the horizon, we will have a brief discussion about this at the next school board meeting, but you'll remember that every year we turn in our legislative priorities to WASDA. It's time to do that again. So I'll get some information out for you as soon as they release it. I think they're due to release it tomorrow. So that I'll get you the information you need to be prepped for that discussion, but we really just need to turn in our top 10 legislative priorities. That's what they use to set their 3 legislative priorities for this next legislative session. So that is on the horizon. Oh, and then, sorry, real quick. I used to live right there at Hansen Park. I totally understand what you're talking about. I don't know what our obligation is, but if we could please figure out how to take care of our lot, that would be great. And then I just pulled up the WIAA handbook to see if I could find some information about admission, things like that. I'm assuming it's WIAA that sets that. If it's not, it's the MCC. Yeah. Okay, yeah, we need to look into that because we definitely want our parents attending. So, yeah. Noted. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Gledhill. Mr. Valentine.
I agree with Josh and Brittany on that. And Brittany, you're the best for doing all that WASDA stuff. You know, in life, we can talk at people or we can talk with people. That's our choice. We can communicate and listen, or we can stand in front of people and just talk at them in echo chambers. So remember that. Visited a bunch of schools and had a lot of engagements. It was a very, very productive couple of weeks. And I yield my time.
We're going to move along. We will move along to consent items. So I will take a motion to approve consent items.
I'll make a motion to consent, or to approve the consent items as presented.
All right, we have a motion. Patty with the roll call vote, please.
Mr. Connors?
Yes.
Dr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Gledhill?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
And Mr. Galbraith?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we have no unfinished business and no new business, so we will move into number 9, reports and discussions, family, parental involvement and engagement efforts. Ms. Chastain, the floor is yours.
Quick, this is our annual family engagement update. My dashboard, guys, that we can track through the whole year to see how we're doing. A little bit new and different. We're developing these KPIs for all areas of Parent Square, and then we're going to out also to. So here are some of the areas that we're just going to touch on today. Our family communication channels, which are Parent Square, social media, and our website. And then also the progress that our annual family engagement survey results are showing. And our action team for partnerships. This is our family engagement team in teaching and learning department and what they're working on. So family communication channels. You know that this year we actually launched, Parent Square, we launched a few years back, but this year it's really taken off. And to give you an overall snapshot of where we're at, we're reaching out to 21,166 parents. So if you know, our student enrollment is around 19,100. So our reach is really good, and we have a high contactability rate, which is 96% of our family. And then under Parent Square as well, reach and deliverability, we're actually have 98% of our parents are opting in with text. So that's much more than emails. So they're preferring the text communication over the emails, and they're highly engaged in the text as well, but also the app. So we almost have a 50% download rate for our parents with the app, which is really high in Parent Square world. They're telling us that we're doing a great job. So that's really great to see. And then also in Parent Square, the features that are being used, and this is just this year. So we have over 46,000 direct messages or 10,000 threads. So threads are conversations. So you can see that our teachers and our staff at the building are really using Parent Square to have direct engagement with families and with parents. And then another key performance indicator with Parent Square is how much parents are interacting. So over 3,400 are sending direct messages and showing appreciation. It's much like social media where you can like the post if you see a post that you appreciate and you want to stay engaged. And then you can also make comments as well. So as far as how these posts are distributed and which schools are using them the most, this is a graph that represents the high engagement schools that are using Parent Square to the fullest. And you'll see that it doesn't necessarily correspond to the enrollment. It's what those schools have in place for regular communication, and also which staff have really adopted Parent Square as their main means of communicating with families. And then in terms of social media, you know that last time I presented to you, I mentioned that we had hired Emily McLaughlin as our digital content manager, and she has done an amazing job since last, I believe it was March or April that she came on board. And so we did a little comparison about where we were for the month of August last year and compared to this year. And you can see that we're up in reach and content interactions by visits and follows in all areas. And it's pretty substantial difference just having somebody that's focused on social media and creating content and making it not just content, but creative content and also engaging content and the content that people want to interact with. And then just to give you an idea of what's top performing content in on our feeds are definitely the faces and the stories about our staff, and then the faces of our students. So good photos are making good posts. And we've really benefited from Emily's background in photography in this area, so that's been a huge bonus for us. And then some website key performance indicators. So as you know that we launched all 33 of the school and district websites in August. So all new websites for the district. And just in that short time, we've had 450,000 hits across all of our pages. And we're definitely driving our traffic to our homepage, and our staff is using it as well to access information. The jobs section is always a huge one: calendar, busing, school supplies at the beginning of the year. Those stats will change throughout the year. But you also see, I think the important one here is that students and families are looking for information in our Family Hub. And then we also have a family engagement survey that we do every spring. And last year we sent out the family engagement survey. We had a little over 1,500 responses. That was down from 2024, where we had 26 responses. And I know that a lot of our schools weren't real happy when they saw how many respondents they had, because it doesn't give them a full picture of a good sample size of what their audience and their families are thinking. And so hopefully we'll see some uptick in that area this spring as they make more of an effort to get families to complete the survey. We do have one open-ended question on the survey, and this kind of gives you a temperature check on where families were commenting, mostly about parent communication and school safety and security issues. Sorry, am I going backwards? Also, in the annual family engagement survey, we ask families about feeling respected and welcomed, and we're up slightly in that area. But the one key indicator here that I'd like to call your attention to is the % of families reporting having opportunities to engage with their school and help their children succeed. And I know that our schools do a really good job of that these days. And you'll notice that on that board calendar of all the events that you go to and interact with our staff and our families. And those are much of the things that you were mentioning in your board report. We just have so many opportunities for families at each of our schools to engage.
Hey, Robin, on that last slide.
Yeah.
Does it say that the kids are feeling more respected and welcome every year? It's getting better?
These aren't the results of the student engagement survey.
Families?
These are just families.
Okay.
Yeah. We also have our ATPs, which are Action Team for Partnerships, and we have that team in teaching and learning that is working closely with all of our schools and our school leadership. ATPs are a committee of staff and families and community members at the schools that strive hard to get families engaged and make an impact in learning at their schools. So the focus of the ATPs this year is creating a welcoming environment with two-way communication, language access, parent focus groups, parent volunteers, transition practices, and community partnerships, in addition they're doing some specialized training with our schools in terms of training them how to conduct focus groups. So taking these surveys that we have kind of to the next step and really digging in deeper with families and finding out what opportunities are there to help families with? What do they want to know? What aren't they getting? What can they do to make it more accessible for families to help their children? And then they're also working with our schools on developing one-year plan goals. And each of our schools have an ATP goal in the areas of academic, social, emotional learning, and in partnerships. And these are some examples on this page of different things going on throughout the district that our ATPs are responsible for. You have any questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple. So the high school websites were redesigned, correct?
Correct.
So the calendar, I take it, is it not being utilized yet?
It is. The schools have access to it.
Okay. So for example, Kamiakin, if I were looking at any event at Kamiakin, the calendar is absolutely, the only events on there are Halloween and Veterans Day. I suspect there's more going on. Homecoming should be coming up. There's nothing on here about homecoming, when it would be, nothing about any of the events.
The schools aren't using them.
So that's my concern. I don't know if it's just Kamiakin. I know Kamiakin because that's where my children are at. And we've tried to look at different events, whether it's a soccer game or a homecoming or other events. So perhaps we can, sounds like we started something new, but we just need to maybe circle back and make sure that these sources are being utilized. In fact, a couple of days ago, I had the adventure of trying to figure out when Kamiakin's homecoming was. And I wanted to see if I could find it without asking any of my kids, and I could not find it. Now, Siri couldn't find it either, and neither could ChatGPT. They all said maybe it's hidden in some firewall thing. So my point being is we need to make sure that people are utilizing these resources. The calendars are great if they're up to date and they're functional, but the problem is if I go there and I don't see something, then now I don't think that's a reliable source. And especially we've got to make sure that parents know where they can go. And if they go there, it's got to be useful. That's the first thing. The second thing, when we're talking about parent engagement, my question is how are we, here we're talking specifically about a lot of the technological things we're doing. But I think at its core, how are we getting parents into the school? It's great that, I think it's interesting that if you look at the things that they're most often talking about in terms of what the posts are about. If I remember right, the top one, the mentions, the parent communication is number one, but if you also look, teacher-parent interaction, which probably has to do with communication, is actually number 3. And then school communication is number 6. And so we're seeing these are issues people are talking about, which probably, I could be wrong, and maybe we want to look into this, but it may be, again, them expressing frustrations that communication isn't working as smoothly as we'd hoped. And particularly getting parents into schools can resolve a lot of those problems, because if you can sit down and talk with someone one-on-one, usually you can figure these things out. Or if they're involved in PTOs or involved in student organizations, working with their kids, collaborating with other parents, often they will get answers to their questions and find easier ways to do that. So I guess that's one of the things I'd really like to hear is how are we getting parents into the schools to be helpful and to be involved. And then also, I know each year we have a lot of volunteers, whether it's through organizations like Project Read, Team Read, or some of the other organizations that get parents into the schools to help volunteer. But again, when we're looking at outcomes that are less than optimal, one of the things, for example, when I was talking to our student today, Teddy told me that when I asked him, when you have to rate your family, so your parents, yourself, and the school, how would you divide the percentage in its importance in determining your success in life and work and business? And his number was 40% with parents, 30% with him, and 30% with the school. So I think that goes to tell you that parents, our students see their parents as incredibly important in their development for success. And I think if we're not better capturing that, we're going to struggle to help our kids be successful, because there's a lot of things that we need our parents to be doing and helping us with, and we helping them. So I think, again, we got to get parents into the schools. The digital stuff is great, but if we're not getting them into the schools, we're going to miss.
So can I make a follow-up on that? I think it was like one of the first things that I did. So we can look, that's the timeline, like is you remember when I got in, I was like, hey, how can we get parents in school? It was right during after the COVID thing. And then we did like a survey, and each school kind of reported how many parents they had in their school that year, and then all the different programs they each had. Do you remember doing that?
Yes.
And then we actually did like I think it's like a PLC type thing with all the schools, like, okay, sharing the programs that were successful with each other. And then we report it back in like, I don't know, 8 months or 6 months or something like that. And then all the numbers had like quadrupled or 10x or something. So maybe we can look back at that. That might lead us in some direction. That was obviously before Josh and Brittany.
Thank you for that feedback. And I know that is, just so you know, that family engagement team of our action team for partnerships, they're really great about sharing best practices among all of our schools and letting each other know what they're all doing, which is really important. So thank you for that feedback. Anything else that I can answer?
You guys?
Well, I have a question. I don't know how to ask it. Is each principal primarily and each ATP primarily responsible for the family engagement at their schools? Is that how it works?
I would say that they're the leaders, definitely. The schools generally take a committee approach with their staff leaders in developing opportunities.
And how heavily are they influenced by district policy? Do they have a lot of leeway to determine their family engagement? I'm just not familiar enough with ours.
Looking at Alyssa, she might have more.
It might help if let me give you an example. My daughter's interested in starting a club at her school.
Yeah.
It's proven to be pretty difficult, even with parents being interested in helping out. And so it just seemed like a good opportunity to me for a family to get involved with the school. And so I'm just looking for some information on if that's a school thing, if it's a district thing. Do we have a policy?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of what you said about your daughter.
Yeah, just interested in starting a club at her school.
Okay.
And it's been rather difficult.
Okay.
We're kind of at a roadblock, actually. And so I'm getting that it's the school culture or policy, but how much of that is coming from the school district? And what can we do to broaden that and open it up so that if there are families and students that want to get things started at their school, there's that opportunity is there.
We can follow up with the school principal. There's a process in place for school clubs for sure. I'm gonna extend what Robin was saying about family engagement. We do have a committee working and looking at pieces of it, but it is all of our responsibilities. The principal has a piece of family engagement, when family to talk, phone calls, meeting with parents, hosting focus groups, newsletters. The classroom teacher has a responsibility to communicate what the student is learning, how the family can help support that. So we have to wrap around it in all ways. I'm going to just extend it. It's not just the committee at these schools. These committees are focused on practices. Like, are we helping families make sure students are coming to school rested, backpacks organized? That's family engagement.
Sure.
Making sure our kids show up ready to learn. That's family engagement. Sharing information about literacy as well. So it takes a village.
Sure. Okay, so nothing that is coming from a district level that's impeding that. It might just be something that's at the school level. Okay, fair enough.
So then a follow-up to that, I've experienced a similar issue where, again, one of my children wanted to start something, and rather than it being a fairly straightforward process, it was fairly difficult, even with parents suggesting they would be heavily involved. And I guess from a district level, how can we streamline that process to help kids who want to do something perhaps extracurricular? They
Yeah.
have parental involvement already.
Is this in the lens of like Associated Student Body and doing ASB activities?
Perhaps, yeah,
Okay.
like an extracurricular club. I guess part of what if we're having students and particularly parents who are wanting to get engaged, how can we minimize the barriers as you talk about even with graduation, but how do we minimize the barriers to getting our parents into the school? Because again, I would go back to, if you get a parent into the school, into that building, you are going to go a long way into getting that parent to be more involved, to have better knowledge and better understanding of what's going on. For example, we talk about these surveys. A great place to do the surveys is probably at the elementary school, or excuse me, at the middle school recitals, or at the elementary school concerts, because you have a lot of parents there. They're in the building. Take advantage of them. And again, we should be looking to drive parents into those buildings so there's personal face-to-face interactions with teachers, with administrators, because when you do that, those parents become more invested. They feel a part.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, again, if we're creating barriers that make it very difficult to start new little clubs or to start little activities that will help get parents in, and I think we're going to struggle with involvement. Along those lines, I also was just looking, Southridge has some of their calendar stuff up, but again, most of this isn't. There's a couple student things, and then, for example, National Psychology Week is on there, and National Principal Month, and those kind of things, which from a parent perspective, probably not what they need to know. Events are going to be far more important. Kennewick High School doesn't have anything. So I think we're underutilizing our calendars. And it's great that we have new websites, but we have to, if we're going to send people to the website, they have to be functional. If they're not functional and not functional initially, then people aren't going to trust that that's a site to go to, and then it's going to be all for naught. So we need to make sure and get that up to date immediately or very quickly so that people can feel comfortable going there. Create that habit.
We'll definitely work on that.
Just real quick, thank you and the team for the hard work. The web pages look great. And I love it's more bulleted, visual than it is wordy. I think that's all great. So thank you to the team. My only question is the engagement, the family engagement survey. Seeing it's been a little bit less this last year. I don't know when we do it. I don't know if it's something we can do. Like I think of I went to 5 or 6 open houses, talked to close to probably 50, 60 teachers, and they're all like, I had everybody but one kid show up, right? And they all have QR codes and all that stuff out. Like, I don't know if that's a time where they could take the survey or if that's too early in the year or whatever, but just however we can figure out to maybe push the survey out a little bit more and get more responses, I think would be great. But again, thank you to the team because the webpage is fantastic. So
I appreciate that feedback, and there are a lot of ideas being circulated about how we can get the timing maybe is impacting the survey result.
And in addition to the survey, giving parents opportunities right when they're there of, hey, here's further opportunities to be involved. That way they can leave with a, hey, here's some things you can do. Because that's probably the best opportunity we have to capture people is when they're right in front of you and you're talking to them face to face.
Awesome. Thank you. Next up, we're going to be talking about our EP&O educational programs and operations and technology leverage. Dr. Brillhart will lead us in that.
Good evening, Mr. Hanson, members of the board. Before I begin, I did want to point out we've had a member of our student superintendent council come in a little bit late, so I thought we would maybe pause for just a second for our presentation. And sweetie, would you mind standing up and just introducing yourself to the board?
My name is Mari Langiano, and I come from Kennewick High School, and I'm a junior. That's, I don't know if you guys have any questions for me.
No, I mean, I think we appreciate you being on the advisory council and look forward to what you guys, come up with and share with us and all that. So thank you so much for doing that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thanks for coming
Thank
tonight.
you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And along those lines, are you here with your parents?
Oh, yeah.
Parents,
Fantastic.
thanks so much for being so supportive. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was ironic considering you guys were
What's that?
talking about parent involvement.
There's a survey on the table.
Parents, thanks. Yeah.
No, but thank you for being here and being so supportive.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. All right. Now, the real question is, will they stick around for my presentation? So thank you all for being here. So again, yeah, very important topic. Obviously, it's levy time. So everybody's favorite four-letter word. So tonight we are just going to revisit a lot of things that we've already been discussing. But of course, I think it's healthy for us to not only revigorate ourselves with some of these items, but also make sure that members of our community and our public are as well informed as they possibly can be of what is an EP&O levy, what's a tech levy, what's the why behind it, and why do we need it, most importantly. So as Mr. Hanson has alluded to, everything starts with our mission and vision. And, just to highlight a few key words, key components that obviously we can definitely reconnect to, again, our why behind why it's so imperative that we support and we have that EP&O levy. And our tech levy is, again, within our mission is to obviously provide a safe environment. In order to do that, safety is one of those terms that means different, has a different definition for some folks. But obviously in most cases, safety does require resources, and that's okay. And part of our vision, of course, is make sure the kids are well known, to make sure that again, they're safe and they're destined to reach their highest potential. So, the word of the night that I think was been phrased a lot is barriers. And every kid has a barrier. Every single kid does. Some might be this high, some might be that high. But, the one thing that is unfortunate in the state of Washington are, while the barrier might be this big, the ladder that's provided is only this tall. We need a ladder this tall. And that's kind of the reason why ultimately EP&O and tech levies are so vital to a school district success, is because of that few extra steps that we need in our ladder in order, again, for our kids to get over those barriers. So again, that's something that, like I said, we're going to talk tonight. So levies, of course, are meant for learning. Bonds, of course, is later down the road, that's meant for building. And again, in the state of Washington, levies are essential because, again, it is basically a way for local districts to fill that funding gap. So, of course, we're probably all very familiar with the prototypical school funding model that's been embedded in the state since the mid-1990s. The allocation amounts have changed, but the basis of the model hasn't really altered in 30 years. And so, is it out of date? Maybe, who knows? Doesn't really matter. It is what we need, or it is what we have currently right now. But ultimately, what our needs are, again, a way for us to generate that is through an EP&O and, of course, a tech levy. So currently, at this state in the game, which of course we're only a few months away from needing to get a resolution in front of you all in November, which I'll be talking about here momentarily with our presentation. But we're still, looking at okay, what are the items that we need to continue to support? What are items that we need to continue to possibly expand upon? And ultimately, what's that total cost to project out for 2027, 2028, 29, and so on and so forth. So our role, of course, is to clarify again within the district, okay, what's our role as making sure that we transparently, with as much accuracy as we possibly can, make sure that we are communicating as properly as we can for our community to best be informed. And again, we're not trying to persuade votes, yes or no, but we just want people to be as informed as they possibly can when they actually do fill out that ballot. And they truly do understand the reason why the majority of 295 school districts in the state are asking their exact same taxpayers to fulfill, again, those last few steps in that ladder. So, of course, we do have guidelines that we have to adhere to. Again, same game here as it is in any other district in the state with the Washington School Election Guidelines. I won't dive too deep into that. Of course, it's a public document. People can look at it. But again, I mean, ultimately, obviously, we have to keep in mind that, this is something that again, is informative for us. And we have to be mindful of what resources we spend at the district, which is basically zero, as far as making sure that we put those efforts accordingly to making sure that we engage with our public to, again, help them be as informed as possible to hopefully help support our cause. So let's talk about big picture. What do levies support? Again, going back to that prototypical school funding model, the state of Washington basically funds just that. The easiest way to solidify that concept is the state of Washington only funds what basically requires a child to get across the graduation stage. That's it. And so anything above and beyond that, which we all know do exist, whether it be extra programming, whether it be extracurriculars, whether it be safety, whether it be health services or whatnot, that is not technically funded by the state. That again comes back on the local level. So student learning and staffing, health and safety, instructional support, athletics and activities or extracurriculars, operations and maintenance, and of course, again, going back to technology. So let's kind of dive deep into some of those. So some of the big hitters with student learning and staffing, graduation success coordinators. I'm sure you've seen those people in action as you visited, especially some of our high schools. Again, ensuring that kids are engaged and on track to graduate. Some of our AP classes, again, those are not funded by the state because the state doesn't recognize those as being a requirement to graduate. IB classes as well. And again, I'm not going to go through a lot of these dual language support. Obviously, we know that, again, very similar to all the rest of the districts in the state, we have kids that come to us that have language barriers. Again, the state doesn't fully fund some of those language barriers that we need to adhere to in order to make sure that our kids get the services that they need. Substitute teachers, let's poke on that one for a little bit. The state only funds 4 substitute teacher days per teacher, 4. That is 4 across the board, all 1,200 of our teachers, on average 4. So if we have a teacher that goes on small intermittent leave for 10 days, those 6 days come from, again, local funds. And so, again, it's just kind of an out-of-date model, but unfortunately it's what we have currently right now, so we have to make sure that we play our game accordingly. Health and safety. Of course, our school resource officers, again, that's above and beyond because the state doesn't recognize that as something that, again, is a need for a kid to graduate, which, again, in modern day 2025, it obviously should, but it is not. Our school safety officer program with our elementary schools, that is not funded either by the state. So, again, that comes back to the local level. And, of course, our security staff that we have across all of our facilities, again, that is also funded by our EPNO levy. School nurses, let's talk about health. So in the prototypical school funding model, in an average middle school, the state only funds about half of an FTE for a school nurse. So if you have a middle school of 700 kids, 800 kids, 600 kids, whatever it may be, the state expects, again, with all the current medical needs that our kids come to us with, and respectfully so, that we're obligated to adhere to. Again, we're expecting one staff member for maybe 3 to 4 hours a day to fulfill those needs in one building of possibly 700 kids. It's just not a practical solution, although they call it prototypical. So school psychs, drug alcohol awareness and prevention, also crosswalk safety as well, again, are just some of the other items to highlight. Instructional support, of course, paraeducators, again, that's something also that's built into the prototypical school funding model. We are not fully funded with that. Extra secretaries, various classified substitutes, and also extracurricular needs as well. So like the CKLA book adoption that we did last year, again, that is not something that the state fully funds. That is something that's embedded in our MSOC, but of course, as we've noted in our MSOC funding, we're always shortfall there just because, again, we have higher other utility costs, insurance costs, so on and so forth. That's all built into that same pot. Athletics and activities, again, kind of extracurricular across the board. State doesn't say that we're going to fund you because, it's great to have a cheerleading squad or a basketball team or after school band or orchestra or whatever. Again, all those programs are again not sought and paid for by the state. That's something that, again, our local community has to support and of course continually try to enhance and provide resources for. Operations and maintenance, again, Same thing with in classified staff. We only get funded so many custodians per building. And also, of course, embedded in that is our maintenance programs and our facility upgrades. And then also transportation. So obviously transportation is a little bit different because it's funded completely out of the pot of the prototypical school funding model, has its own game. But again, anything above and beyond, if you wanted to enhance your buses, for instance, from what you're actually getting from the state, again, comes from local dollars as well. Technology levy, again, technology, as you can imagine, anything that's sitting in front of our kids that's related to, again, delivering modernized instructional aptitude and processes in front of our kids, again, has to be supported from the tech level. We don't receive funding in that realm. So again, that has to be something that is locally funded as well. So again, just to kind of highlight where we're at currently right now, where we're going to be in the next couple of weeks, where we're going to be in the next couple of months. So as you can see on October 8th and 22nd, we'll kind of have updated presentations, obviously on this topic as we march forward. But really November 12th is a big day for us because that's when we have to actually present a resolution in front of the board. Hopefully get acceptance of that resolution. And that'll basically set our game moving forward with clarity and purpose and knowing exactly what we're going to be asking our local taxpayers to support for our schools. And so, and really from that point moving forward, obviously our D-Day is February 10th. And it's going to be an exciting day because again, obviously it's great to see our community support our kids and support our schools and do what's best for kids. So we're excited about that. Any questions?
Question, are we going to have a workshop here? Because I know we've got to go through and figure out what our assessment rate is and all that stuff. So.
Yes. So we can do that at any time, of course. All right. So the one thing that I would target is you're going to be less accurate today than you will be tomorrow, you know, and the one thing that we have not received yet is an updated assessed value for Benton County yet. So I actually reached out to the assessor's office today to kind of get a timeline of, hey, when should we expect that? Usually it's sometime in early October, usually. So I just, you know, before we do anything, I just want to make sure we have that in hand, and that way at least we can project, you know, with them as most accuracy as we can, at least for 2026. So.
Totally fine. There's just a lot of moving parts to getting your number because we asked for a flat amount. Then as we look at the sliding scale of the assessed value, that it hurt us last time, so we tried to keep it low as we could. Yeah. Assessed values came up higher, and all of a sudden we were under the threshold for the
LEA.
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah. So anyway, we lost about $10 million.
I would say we are 97% dialed in right now. It's just the assessed value is what we're really kind of waiting on. That's the biggest piece right now. So
yeah, totally.
Fine. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's a good percentage.
It's a good percentage. Yeah. Totally met that.
Yeah, we need to have a study session on that. So we've got to our assessed what we want to ask for.
So we probably need to have a study session. October.
Okay.
One or two October boards.
Do we have one on the
second October? We have one in November.
We can.
So it sounds like we probably need to call a study session over October. So we've done that before the resolution.
And how much research or reaching out to the community do we do ahead of time to kind of gauge the temperature of where the community is as far as where they're at and their willingness to? We've had problems recently with passing a levy, and I don't want to have that again. Mm-hmm. So as we look at, right, as we're looking at what rate to set and just getting the community mood, are we doing some work ahead of time to?
Go ahead.
Oh, well, you can.
And how how much marketing do we get to do? And I know that's all in the PDC, but
our community group has been meeting since the kickoff.
Oh, geez, probably
so
6 months.
Have a very good. I haven't got them in front of you yet because here's the things I want to make sure that we have good information to start communicating because you can't undo bad information.
Sure.
Like a bad number. If we threw a rate out or a value out now, we wanted to change that or it looked different based on market value. I just feel like it's important that we have that in place. Having said that, that particular team, and again, Pat was here tonight, is doing a ton of work, for lack of better words, behind the scenes to develop not only the strategy, but the messaging and getting a gauge of the community on their value. Because in order to pass levies, you have to match the two.
Right.
You have to say, this is the, and I make it very simple. These are the opportunities that our children, we value, whatever those may be, extracurricular, co-curricular, career technical. Here are the supports that are needed. Here's the safety that we expect. And you can throw any of those things in those three buckets versus getting into any specific program. So short answer is yes.
Okay. And I guess what do you need from us?
I think at the study session, that'll be invaluable for us to get, your all's feedback and support and guidance, I guess.
There are plenty of opportunities for us to provide information to our community, and our board members be essential in that component. Right now, I have many meetings on my schedule, Robin, 100, something of that nature. Anyway, so Robin has already scheduled me out, and then I typically do that in conjunction with Pat or someone else who has the ability by law to advocate, so that I can give the information and the other person can visit with that. So that's how we would fold the board into how are you able to move forward with that message?
Okay.
So it sounds like we should probably, October 22nd probably is a better date than October 8th.
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah, so if you guys are good with it, we can take the November 12th session and just move it to October 22nd and do the levy session. Okay.
I'll just make a note. So Patty's.
Could change that.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, so we will move into Mr. Hanson, the superintendent report.
Okay, thank you, President Galbraith. I have a few items just to report to the board. We had talked about a lobbyist, and right now I've come up with a name. So I want to get a little bit longer list, and there may be some individual communication. I go back and forth. I know I visited Mr. Connors, for example, about more of those pieces. However, that being said, that ball needs to start rolling a little bit faster. Not using a tumbleweed analogy, that would be a bad one. I'm sorry, sir, for that. However, that's what we need to get going there. The other news I want to keep the board updated on is Patty's done some amazing work when it comes to, well, she always does amazing work, so I'll just say that. We have vetted and selected a software program to help us manage our board meetings. So it's Simply. So you will be trained on that. In other words, the board package, the way that you see them now, you'll be accessing through a portal, and it'll be, there'll be a lot of more ease in that.
Wait, no more Patty emails?
I know. What will you do with that? As well as the ability for not only our staff, but the public to really search our policies and procedures in a much more efficient manner. They can do it thematically. This is something that I saw as a benefit, as our kind of our next step. And we have signed the contract there. We're in the process of doing some transitioning as far as moving the policies in. So you'll be aware for that particular training coming on board, and then with Patty on that.
Lance, really quick on that. Will that include your updates?
So you will start to see things that are embedded in that. Yeah.
That'll go.
I've been talking to you guys a lot, so I don't know how much more you want.
That'll go to that new program software.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like this particular piece can be captured in that. We have options that are available to us. This particular company solely has developed this program just for school boards. Period. And the state of Georgia, this is their adopted platform, as an example. Let's get back. The next thing is I was going to talk about the study session, but we've already done that. We're going to move that from November to October. And lastly, on my, for me, I just want to make sure that the board, as you're starting to see how we, as the cabinet, the team that I works most closely with me, how we're approaching our goals and objectives and how we're connecting everyone, including the board. So from my perspective, our cabinet, most specifically Alyssa and Tom, have been doing school walks similar to what learning walks for us. And really they work for us because it's important that when you are in an organization, any organization, doesn't matter, clarity precedes competence, and the message and expectation needs to be crystal clear. So it's not the military thing. You don't give instructions that are understood. You give ones that can't be misunderstood. So that's something that we're talking about now on that clarity that goes from our our assistant superintendents now. We've expanded that. We are currently expanding that to directors and assistant directors, and I am giving my full trust. Alyssa reminded me the book that I gave them all to read was Trust and Inspire. And so they're reminding me that I have to follow that as well. So I've stepped back. If you've been on learning walks with me, you kind of see what that looks like. We expect that's the same, and they're going to take the lead on that. And then we'll be able to calibrate our direction from leaders, leading leaders and leading learners. We're leading leaders. So those were the things that I wanted to make sure that the board was aware. And again, we have a ton of stuff. I hope you're checking the board or the student activities. I know it's not on a calendar right now, but the board has one. TriTech, for example, tomorrow is the big barbecue. It's at 3 different locations. And if that hasn't come through, we'll make sure we'll send that click out, everything as a reminder.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's okay. We just.
I just had some issues.
Right. Yeah. It's just different than how we used to get the information. And so I just need some training on how to, so we can take care of that afterwards, but I've been having a hard time figuring out where I'm supposed to find the information. So it sounds like this software platform is going to be amazing.
Because sometimes on my iPhone,
And my problem is I don't want to remind.
We are looking for simple, efficient, known well by everyone.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, just keep folding the mission. You will hear the mission and vision from everybody that gets up.
I give Alyssa a book too. I wonder if she read mine before Lance's.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hanson. So moving along, next meeting agenda, capital projects update, capital budget, levy, student safety, and legislative priorities. Is the legislative priorities, is that what that's for? Okay.
Yeah, it
All right,
shouldn't be,
perfect.
it won't be a long discussion.
Yep,
You
I just want to make sure we
yeah.
captured that.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So now we will move into executive session per RCW 423110, qualifications and performance review for approximately the next 30 minutes. So we will pause there.